Logan Latuso is finally speaking up about his disqualification from the Bassmaster Elite Series event on Tenkiller. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the vlog. If you're new, my name is Steve Chapman. I need to give credit where it's due. This interview came on the Mike and Becky live show. Logan and I have exchanged some messages over the last couple weeks, and I really was hoping to do an interview with him myself to ask a lot of questions, because what happened to him is something that is very confusing. And there's some people that feel like he might even been targeted on this. But there's a lot to the story that still hasn't come out. But we're now hearing from Logan and his side of the story in an interview with Mike and Becky, asking some very great questions. But if you want to hear the whole interview, I would suggest going to Mike and Becky's live podcast and watching this most recent one. Now for me, I have a ton of questions. I should say, when I started looking into this and trying to get a hold of Logan, I actually talked to Mark Tenkiller. He used to be the Major League Fishing polygrapher, and I asked him a bunch of questions on this too, because the whole thing just seems to be a little bit off. And remember, these anglers have signed up to follow the rules that B.A.S.S has put in place. If you fail a polygraph, you're disqualified. That's all there is. But could there be changes or a different way to handle this to make sure that things are done properly? And I'm not saying they're done improperly here either. So if you remember, as Logan has said, he went to Tenkiller. He saw a post, I believe on Facebook, that was a public post, but then went to Tenkiller, finished in 9th or 10th place, got selected for a random polygraph, took that polygraph, and as he was walking out, per Logan's exact statements, he was told he passed. He's good, he was told. Now, several days later, he got a phone call. That polygraph was reviewed, and he was told that it was inconclusive and that he'd have to take another polygraph in Houston. He went a couple weeks later, and it was a much shorter polygraph test, but he failed that one, and he was disqualified from the Tenkiller. This is important because he is fighting for his life on the Elite Series. This is his dream. This is something he's always wanted to do. And that change in where he was in 9th place to a disqualification drastically changes his Angler of the Year points. He's now in 88th, where he was sitting somewhat fine. He was on that bubble, but now he's way back and needs to have 2 top 30s in the last 2 tournaments to requalify, or else he'll be relegated back down into the opens, or he can fish wherever he wants. And here's some of the questions I have for him. I wanted to know, does he remember what the question that triggered this issue? Was this a Facebook post that he saw from a friend, and how public was it? Because the truth of the matter is that a public post on Facebook really isn't public unless you're friends with the person. Not to mention, not everyone can see those posts, like I said, unless you're a friend. So is that public or is that private? Next, what was said in that post by his friend? I think his name was Mark. Now, B.A.S.S admitted that the first polygrapher made a mistake by saying that he was good and that he passed. That brings up a lot of questions. To start off with, how many times has that examiner possibly been wrong for other anglers? Or is that examiner passing or failing people that either aren't or are? Now, when I talked to Mark Tenkiller, that used to be the polygrapher for Major League Fishing, he gave me some science that I didn't know. He started off by saying that there's probably bad science going on within this exam. How you're asked the question can drastically change how you react to it. Also, remember, polygraphs aren't admissible in court. But this is what they agreed to, so you have to go with what you signed. But he mentioned you can't fail one question. You can only fail a whole test. And that there might have been split calls in the initial polygraph, which means that it would have been a bad polygraph. And that being deceptive is just one issue. Lying about it is a different. He also mentioned you can't render an opinion before the test, that you need to do a baseline, This is important because Logan said that as he went to Houston to take the second polygraph, that he felt like before he got in, he was instantly guilty. And the test was much shorter, which then brings into question, did they do the right baseline to get that baseline result? And that you have to take emotions out of the test. The person needs to be relaxed. And with 2 weeks from being told that he had to take another polygraph to then going to Houston and taking that polygraph, his probably stress level was at another level. Logan was told he did nothing wrong, but he failed the test, then got disqualified. And that disqualified has really put his career in jeopardy. And there should be an appeal process to appeal what was going on. The test, the results, and the video from the polygraph should be given to that person who failed it, because they should be able to take that information and bring it to someone who might not be biased. And again, Logan felt like maybe he was targeted. And it's tough to say this, but hopefully it's just completely wrong. Hopefully this is not the case for Logan, because there are certain instances where if someone within the organization doesn't like how someone online or social media or a reporter or media handles a certain situation or talks about a certain situation, that maybe sometimes B.A.S.S makes a record of it and handles it improperly. And that's scary for someone who's making YouTube videos. Now, B.A.S.S will not change their mind. They are set in stone. But it doesn't mean that in the future that they can't go back and hopefully change things for upcoming tournaments. I do believe that the Anglers Board needs to be more proactive in helping out the angler, right or wrong. At the same time, maybe there needs to be some sort of change in the rules for polygraphs. And I say that and think to myself, if you change it, then there might be more people who try to cheat. And we don't want that. Now, in the last thing that I wrote notes for the Ike and Ellie video, and again, go check that out, is that Logan was assessed a fine. And he didn't want to pay the fine because he felt like it instantly made him guilty. However, if he didn't pay the fine, he would not be able to fish the next tournament. And that's just another one of the things that needs to be looked at probably a little bit more. And it needs to be looked at by someone who isn't within the organization or isn't an angler. There needs to be some sort of group that can come together that doesn't get paid by B.A.S.S or doesn't work for B.A.S.S, I'm saying that as an angler, and then be able to look at the rules and says, this needs to be changed, or let's look at this a little bit differently. And I don't know if he was targeted or he wasn't targeted. I just know that the anglers wanted this rule enforced more. And while I can see, while it isn't Logan's fault for going out there and seeing this information, because it might have been on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, but I can also see why B.A.S.S says, if you're not friends with this person or don't have any affiliation with them, that maybe it is somewhat private. We don't know what the post was. I asked Logan for it. I don't know if I'll get it, but hopefully at some point in time we'll be able to talk to Logan and hear his answers to some of these questions. But this is just another minor bump in the road for what Bassmasters is going through. And I think this hurts the brand. I also think this hurts Logan quite a bit too. And if he's been vocal and someone's trying to target him, then there's much bigger issues than we know. And I don't know if that's even remotely true. But this Logan story it hurts. It hurts the credibility of B.A.S.S. It hurts the credibility of Logan. It hurts his sponsors. It hurts everybody. And while we want more transparency in the industry and what's going on, we also want to know the rights and wrongs of what's happening with these anglers. Is this the right thing that should have happened? And B.A.S.S won't comment, and I wish they would. I wish they would be more open about why they made the decision, because they can contradict or have a different opinion on what Logan has, and I would love to see it, but we probably never will. What do you think? Do you think Logan got the raw end of the deal? Do you think that Bass made the right decision? Do you think something should have been done so that he could continue to fish without losing that amount of points? This is his dream. This is what he's always wanted to do. And Logan doesn't, you've never heard anybody have any controversy with Logan. That's the whole thing. So you have to think how weird the whole situation is. But I want to know what you think in the comments below. So comment below and tell me what you think. Thanks to the Mike and Becky show. I appreciate that. Appreciate you doing the job. Go and watch Mike and Becky on their show, Ike Show Live, and you'll see it. Go watch the whole thing if you want to hear more. Thanks to all the new subscribers and members and everyone who's interactive on the channel. I really do appreciate it. I hope Logan reaches out. But if you're not a subscriber, click that button. Welcome to the team and the family. It's a humbling experience. I really do appreciate it. So thank you. If I can ever help you, reach out. I'll do my best. But if you're not a subscriber, click that button. Welcome to the team and family. Remember, take your kid fishing, tight lines, cheers, and get your fish on.